Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a little disassembly for you on this little guy right here. This is the Spyderco Para3, the tiny sequel to the PM2. Hotly anticipated knife, and today we're going to take it apart. Of course, though, I always got to warn, forgot my sign, but we'll just throw it up here now, that disassembling any Spyderco knife voids the factory warranty. So that's something you got to keep in mind. If you're doing this, you got to be careful. And that's ugly, but we all know that. It's a big thread recently on Spyderco's forums talking about just how ugly that is, and the use of red Loctite on knives, which a lot of people were surprised by. This guy came slathered in red Loctite, absolutely 100%. Permanent thread locker, which you need heat to deactivate. I've gone ahead and done that already, but it is definitely a thing. I mean, if we take a look at this screw here, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but it's definitely apparent that there is red thread locker on there, and I sure as heck didn't use it, so, yeah, there you go. So the pivot here is a Torx T10 bit, and the scale screw is a Torx T8. Even with the amount of heat I use, you can see this screw took some serious abuse to get out of there, which is deeply, deeply ugly. And I really, really dislike the fact that Spyderco is going this Loctite route. I mean, again, more of it. Freaking everywhere, because it makes it very easy to strip out the screws, and because they don't provide the screws if you strip them. Which is, I don't know, it bugs the crap out of me. This guy is a free spinning backspacer, so unfortunately I'm going to have to put this guy in there to first untorque this side, so it kind of screws against itself here. Oh, come on. Because there's still some of the residual Loctite on there. Is that not coming loose? You know, I might need to use a set of pliers on that, but that's okay. But anyways, that just bugs me deeply, because they're not using hardware that's hard enough to be able to work with this red Loctite. And they don't support the, you know, if you lose a screw, I don't know. It just, every time they do it, it just gets uglier and uglier. This part here, well, there, takes a little bit of extra effort, because unfortunately, if we take a look at the lanyard tube here, we can see that it's kind of been peened open, so it's a little odd to get it onto and off of the G10 down here. It's another thing that annoys me a little bit. This is not new for the Para3, though. The Para2 is much in the same way. And unfortunately, if you use, like, pliers or anything to grab this off of there, you're going to end up with a deformation that's going to really injure the knife. So, not a fan of that whatsoever. It also means that I'm not going to take apart this side, both given that this backspacer here is not wanting to come loose at the moment because they used all this damn permanent thread locker, and because I need to undo the clip. I'm just not going to bother. There's no real sense in doing that. You know, the knife is just fine as it is. What I am going to do, however, is take off the pivot on the other side here, because that's a necessary thing, and that's pretty straightforward once you pop the Loctite off of there. But once we've done this, we can see that we've got the Para2 here completely disassembled. We can see, just overall looking at the construction, nothing all that notable relative to, say, your Para3. I'm sorry, PM3. I'm going to struggle with that. But, you know, it's another pocket knife. You've got a liner-based compression lock going on here. You got interior metal liners. You got G10. More of the G10, I believe, is not supported by liner on the 3 than the 2. But that's not a big problem, particularly. And, you know, on the whole, there's nothing wrong with how it's built, except, you know, this free spinning backspacer and then the freaking Loctite. That's just deeply nasty. But anyways, just wiping this off with some 91% rubbing alcohol. You can use whatever substance you'd like, but I'm going to use the booze. And just cleaning this off right here. That looks good. Let's clean off the blade. This is not terribly dirty. I just got the knife a couple of days ago. And so it's just got a couple of days worth of use on it. And I took it down when I first got it just to make sure that I could because this little pin thing, a lot of people had been saying, you know, oh my God, it's pin shut, Nick, you're gonna hate it. No, it's not. Spyderco's done this before. I believe the military, one of the later versions, had that. So, you know, stop freaking out, guys. It's gonna be okay. But, yeah. So anyways, I'm proof positive that you can't take the thing apart. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the, this is the 5-weight nano oil. And I don't use this for lubrication generally because it doesn't really do all that much. It's way too thin. But what I am going to do is just put a little bit of a coating here underneath the scale here. And just going to put a little bit more right under here. A little more here. With the hope and the dream that that kind of distributes itself a little bit inside the underliner region. And I'll kind of try and bend a little bit so I can get some hydraulic pumping going on. I know that I'm not going to get too much penetration in there, but the one concern with not disassembling this half of the knife, and I'll do a little bit here as well. But the one concern is that I might end up with a... with some liquids and water, whatnot, getting underneath the scale here and rusting up behind there. And so this is just kind of a hedge against that. Is it going to work? No, not necessarily. I don't know that for sure. But at the same time, is it going to hurt anything? No, not at all. And so, you know, that way, ideally, next time some water gets in there, there's a nice thin oil that's penetrated all around inside there. And there's no problems. Worth a try, you know, right? So yeah, there we go. I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth commenting on. I mean, honestly, if you've seen a PM2 taken apart, you're going to be just fine taking apart a Para3. They're the same damn knife in a variety of ways. Mostly the functional ones. So, okay. Anything else I'm forgetting here? No, not really. You can see they've done a little extra polishing right here, which gets the majority of the detent ball track, which is nice. And I can't quite see the wear pattern closely enough, but it almost looks like this little chunk right here, this little cutout, is a detent ball ramp, which would be the first time I've seen that on a Spyderco, if that is true. And I like that. It's a nice little thing, and it shows that they give a damn. But I've never really been super concerned about Spyderco giving a damn or not. Then, by and large, especially Sal and Eric Glesser, the stuff they design tends to be well thought out. I always respect that out of Spyderco. Putting a little bit of lube on the backside here. Para3 and the PM2 as well are unique in that you see, you can see here that there's a D-shaped hole in the handle here. If we look at the pivot here, there is a D shape on one side of it. See, more evidence of red Loctite. Spyderco forums, not lying to you there, bros. But anyways, you know, this D-shaped hole needs to go in here, and once it does, this washer is actually sort of captured by it. The washer, the pivot bushing here hugs up against the washer, which means that if you screw down your pivot before you put your washer down, well, you're going to have a bad time. So that's something you got to keep in mind here. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the pivot in on that side, and I'm going to use blue Loctite. This is blue 242. Blue Loctite is A-OK. Provides just enough force to keep things in place, but not so much that it locks everything down in an ugly way. So I'll switch to a bigger Torx bit here. Pardon me. First thing I'm doing in the mornings here. Alrighty. So I've got my pivot in there. Let's just go ahead and twist it down. Beautiful. May need to adjust the tension a little bit later, but for now, that'll do the trick. Now I'm going to put a little bit of nano oil up here. But anyways, the moral of that story is the oil between the washer on this side and the scale is probably not necessary, because the washer is not going to be able to spin very well at all anyways. But it is in there, so no problem. I am going to, just as because I tend to over-lubricate anyways. There we go, put that down. Beautiful. And I'm using nano oil 10 weight here. Not because I am a strong devotee of nano oil, not because I don't get it free or anything like that. I've A number of people have asked, but because it works, and that's fine. It does a decent job. Actually read a paper the other day, a doctoral dissertation in engineering, believe it or not, about lubrication science and the use of carbon buckyball diamond particle nanoparticles in lubrication. Turned out to be really interesting, because the guy was just a gigantic nerd about lubrication, and so it was useful to see. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but if we look inside here, that little cutout that I was pointing out to you does in fact serve as a detent ball ramp, which is really nicely done, and that's not something I recall seeing on the PM2, or frankly on any other compression lock knife. I don't know if maybe I've missed it entirely elsewhere, but it is absolutely it's a nice thing. Probably the hardest part of this knife to put back together is the lanyard tube. Because the lanyard tube has that peening, you really need to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stash the blade inside so it doesn't cut me. Then I'm just going to apply a lot of force here. And hope. There we go. Then it pops back shut again. You can see there's a little G10 shaving on the outside there. Ugly, not a big fan of that peened lanyard tube, but it's also not the end of the world either. So, since I've got the pivot driver on there already, I'm going to go ahead and put the pivot in. Again, using a little bit of blue Loctite here. You'll note that this little shouldered pin up here that people were freaking out so much about is, well, like I said, just a shouldered pin. And so that actually is nice in that it's one less screw to strip out. It's one less thing to go wrong, to come loose. It's a very nice little improvement here, having that in there. Big fan of that. Anything that reduces the number of moving parts, the number of screws to strip, is generally a good thing. And I see no problems at all with it from a construction standpoint. So, I gotta say, as I was saying earlier, Spyderco on the whole impresses me, particularly the golden models and the Sal and Eric Glesser designs. This is a collaboration between the two of them, but every damn time either of them get to work on a knife, the end result is super intelligent. It's a knife that's really well thought out generally, and you can really see that in addition to just making a shorter PM2, I mean, it would have been easier for them to just, okay, let's see here, cut off the blade, call it a day. But they thought about, okay, let's make a PM2 that's smaller and that's better. And I respect the heck out of that, because it was absolutely not the road, the easiest road. But they did it, and the result is compelling. Smaller and slightly better. Can't argue with that. Centering is good. Started off good, so that's good. Right now, a little bit of blade play, so I'll tighten down a little bit on either side. You'll notice that I loosened both sides slightly. I've found some blade play, if you get one of the sides cranked down entirely, but the other one not so much, I may be crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I may be crazy in feeling that. Oh my God, this action. Guys, this is beautiful. Oh, Sal and Eric, you're making my heart sing here. Just gonna do a little tiny more tweaking. But anyways, yeah, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Knife's done. 13 minutes. Just beautiful. And the action on this is just so damn good now. Holy crap. I like this knife a lot. They do great work over there. So, the Loctite aside, that's still ugly. So anyways, that's your Para3. The only real thing you got to think about with this guy is the Loctite. Be careful and heat these screws up with a hairdryer or a soldering iron or something along those lines before you take the thing apart the first time, and you'll have a good time. Alrighty, I hope this was interesting to you, and be on the lookout for my full review on Saturday, coming up here soon. And mostly, though, just have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.